playing Diablo 3 for practically non-stop since it came out when I probably should have been working on a lot of other things. So I figure I might as well work on a review. First of all, it's good. It is a good game, but there is a lot of controversy among the player base about whether or not it's actually good compared to Diablo 2. So I thought I would talk about some of the myths that the naysayers have against the game, because a lot of them are, well, downright false. So, without any further boring introduction, here's the debunking list. Transition already. Number 1. The graphics are too cartoony. Well, I can kind of see where one might get the bright cartoony look from. Basically this area here. The Dogger Oasis is basically the nicest looking area in the entire game. There literally is no place else in the entire game that looks as nice as this. At all. And this really isn't very cartoony to me. But you can pretty much decide on your own from the looks of this, whether you find it cartoony looking or not. Number 2. The story is non-existent. Alternatively, they could say that the story is weak or that there isn't much story. And that's pretty much entirely false. You can talk to practically everyone and get whole conversations, not just like in Diablo 2 where you select a topic and the person just kind of rants on and on about it. Your character actually talks to these people and gets responses from these people. Certain characters actually get different replies from certain characters. Of course, there are some other instances where a character will say exactly the same thing no matter what character you're on, but usually it fits well enough. You wouldn't notice unless you played all 5 characters like I have. I think that's pretty much all I need to say on this. There's definitely story to be found. Oh yes, and when you get a quest, in Diablo 2 you would talk to the person, say you get a quest, and they would ramble on about the background lore and everything else. That doesn't quite happen here. Instead, you have a small conversation about what's going on. And then you can ask them questions in their dialogue options. Like I click on Tyrael here. You can ask them all sorts of questions, and they will talk to you. You see that? Yeah, you had to go a little bit out of your way to go ahead and talk to them, but they do tell you some of the background of various enemies. And speaking of enemies, when you kill new enemies, you get a journal entry in which either Deckard Cain or this other guy tells you about the enemy you killed. Usually Deckard handles the demons, and the other guy whose name I can't remember handles beasts, with a little bit of crisscrossing in there. This is kind of boring standing around number because it's not about any gameplay aspect. So I'll end number 2 here. Number 3. There is no customization. This is another one that I can sort of see where it comes from. Essentially, the argument is that since every character will learn every skill available to their class, and
don't worry about me.
Your stat points are selected for you, you have no control over how your character develops. Now, I have to ask, did you really have any freedom in Diablo 2? I mean, think about it. Did you pick every skill you wanted, or did you pick a bunch of completely useless waste of time skills just to fill out the prerequisite list on skills that you actually did want? Likewise, did you really pick your own stats, or did you pick whatever stats the game told you to pick so that you could equip the armor you wanted? In this game, it really frees you up a lot. Instead of going on a specific skill tree and learning a bunch of skills you don't care about and wasting all of your skill points on that just to get 1 or 2 different skills that you did want, or making you have to waste 10 hours leveling up a brand new character every time you wanted to try something new. This game just lets you experiment without any problems. Look, I just hit skill swap. There, I have a new skill. And you can do this with any one of your unlocked slots. You can have 6 skills, and it's fast enough that you can change your skills whenever you feel like it, but slow enough that you can't really do it mid-combat, which holds a little bit of a balancer on there. As for attribute points, the change is absolutely the best possible change. Instead of the equipment relegating what points and stats you have before you can put it on, now each piece of equipment you wear can give you attribute points, which add to your base attributes and allow you to customize yourself in any way you want. So, I'm a monk, I use dexterity. Naturally, I would put on equipment with plus dexterity. But if I felt like it, I could put on stuff and boost my strength so that I have higher armor, or put on some intelligence and raise my resistance. I could raise my hit points by boosting my vitality through my equipment. And the higher level you go, the more you can influence your stats this way. In fact, I would say about 90% of your stats comes from equipment. So both your stats and your skills can be freely changed with minimal stress. And really, isn't that a good change? Instead of wasting your time with respec quests, building new characters just to try something out, the game actually encourages you to try different things and experiment with different builds. So, I mean, if you really want to have the game choose everything for you, I guess you could go back to Diablo 2. But if you want real freedom, this game delivers. Alright, I think that's all of them that I can remember at the moment. I'm pretty sure there were more, but I just can't remember them. So here's my final thoughts. The game is good. The gameplay is fairly similar to the original Diablo games, in which mainly it was In addition, numbers 1 through 4 use additional skills rather than forcing you to have to use hotkeys or rapidly change your skills in the little skill menu in order to utilize more than just 2. The main changes are that town portals are free but require you to use a lengthy casting. This is to prevent you from spamming the town portal to escape from near-death situations. Likewise, it altered your potions so that you can only use 1 potion every 30 seconds, but you can stack any number of them that you want. And resources have been greatly improved. Now, instead of being forced to, say, be a barbarian and use mana, which you're going to have a pathetic amount of because you don't put much into your intelligence score as a barbarian. Now, every class has their own unique resource system for using their skills. The Witch Doctor has mana, the Demon Hunter has hatred and discipline, the Wizard has arcane power, and the Monk has spirit, and the Barbarian has fury. And each of these systems have their own way of regenerating, and it actually flows pretty well. Let me see if I can think of anything that I had a complaint on. Not really, actually. I know there has to be something that was. Oh yes, now I remember. The later difficulties get a little bit ridiculously hard, which isn't exactly a bad thing. After all, it's refreshing to see difficult setting or difficult games where you actually have to have some level of skill. But some bosses will insta-kill you if you're playing as a ranged class, such as Ragnarok or whatever his name is, in Act 4, will actually teleport and land directly on you without any warning and kill you in 1 hit. These sorts of things seem a little bit cheap, but and I get the feeling the point of it is to encourage you to play in a team where one person getting insta-killed isn't completely tragic, but there are a lot of people who want to actually play single player because they don't feel like replaying certain areas because they're not at high enough level to join a public game that's exactly on the quest they're on, or all sorts of reasons. Maybe they just don't want to get, say, into a game with a bunch of other people if they're only going to be able to play for like 20 minutes. Things like that. That makes some of the bosses seem a little bit cheap instead of difficult. But that's kind of just an aesthetic complaint because anyone can solo normal. So you're not going to have an issue of having the whole story stop because you can't beat it. You will see the entire story play out, and as any class, you can beat normal mode and see the story. These sorts of difficulties only really come in on the higher difficulty modes, specifically Hell and Inferno. Nightmare isn't even really that hard. So that's my only real complaint about the game. It is fairly addicting. I've been playing it basically. Oh yes, one last thing: the auction house. What can I say about the auction house? It's not as overpowered as I had actually expected it to be. Um, the real money auction house is still unavailable. Right now, it's estimated to be available mid next month. Some people have said that due to the auction house existing, there is too high a difficulty in acquiring certain items. Well, let's see here. Raven's Wing, Wrath of the Bone King, 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 Raven's Wing, Wrath of the Bone King. You can go on and on and on. People are finding these items and putting them onto the auction house. Here's the interesting thing. In Diablo 2, you could only trade in trade rooms, which could host up to, I think, 8 players. So you can trade with up to 8 people at once. Now you can trade with all 1.7 million people, give or take, or whatever the statistic was, in one centralized place. Yes, the items had to be made more difficult to attain so that they wouldn't cause massive inflation. This isn't exactly a bad thing. If the items became extremely inflated, they wouldn't be worth anything. I mean, even now, Talcadian Visage is basically the entire first page here, and the second page, third page, fourth page, fifth page, sixth page, seventh page, eighth. How many pages back does this thing go, right? Got 20 pages of this unique item. It's a legendary item, sorry. Now it is a set, and each one also has randomized stats, so there are better or worse versions of the same item here. Now, what this means is a lot of people are finding this item and they are becoming available. Now, as you play, you gather gold, and so if you don't find your own equipment, you can just buy equipment. And if you find a piece of equipment that is good but not good for your character, you can sell that item and use the money you get from it to buy one of these items. I can't say anything about how the real life currency is going to affect this because it still hasn't been live yet, so really I can't do anything about that. So I believe that basically wraps it up. Yeah, it's a good game. It is familiar to Diablo 2 play style, but it is different in quite a few aspects. But most of the changes have been made to make the game more difficult and less time consuming, which is a good thing in general. If you're willing to give this game a chance on its own merits, you'll probably like it. But if you're one of the kinds of people who doesn't like any change to the formula, you probably will be upset about quite a few of the changes in this game. So that's about it, and I'm going to get back to playing this game.